Thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. With your host, Dapper Data.
What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion, with your host, as always, Dapper Data. Today, we're going to get a little bit more technical today. You know, usually I bring on some people that's not as technical, but we talk about how data is really impacting their lives. But this is more going to be about a discussion, right? You know, we touched on data science, data mining. I did a little bit on programming as well. And so I brought on two beast mode programmers. I brought these two guys on. I've known them for a long time. I want to introduce y'all to my boys, Bryan Lofton and Tyrell Flurry. Say what's up, y'all.
Hey, how you
doing? Yeah, so till this day, man, I'm telling you, I always reach out to these guys for anything related to programming. You can tell them, they can tell you the truth about the fact that I always reach out to them, no matter the language I'm dealing with, no matter if I have any programming questions, it don't matter. But I met these two guys at Bowie State University. Again, this is another BSU alumni group right here. We were all computer science majors, actually. They were probably better than me, of course, but now I'm better than them. Well, I gotta get too deep into that, but they'll school y'all a little bit about some programming stuff. But Bryan, that you probably see him at the top. Go ahead, wave, Bryan. So Bryan, man, I met this dude back. Did we meet each other? We didn't meet each other. We met each other freshman year. I've known him since freshman year. But we became roommates, actually. We was on the same side as each other. And so we were roommates at Bowie State. When was that? Was that sophomore year?
Yeah, sophomore year.
Yeah, that was sophomore year. So that was probably about 2004 time frame.
5 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, maybe okay. 4.
That's when we had these dorms called like Holmes Hall. No. Was that Holmes Hall?
No, Bowie Place.
Bowie Place. Yeah. So we had Bowie Place, and from there, we were actually you can put 4 people in a room, but it was we were on the same side, and so we used to always, I think we would compete sometimes on like some of the grades and things like that, and then we just had a good time, man, for real, but this dude, I've known him since I've known him. He's always loved like programming and development and stuff. He can tell you a little bit about himself. But funny story with this guy, we were in class one time and I was actually online. So he's a Kappa too. I'm a Kappa. But during my time, I was going through the process before him, and so I'm a little older than him in the Kappa realm. But I was tired. I was exhausted. All the studying and everything for Kappa and stuff, the late night studying and all that good stuff. And so I was exhausted. And then the next day, we had a test. I don't know, was it a test?
Yeah.
Right, it was a test. So we had a test, and during the test, I was falling asleep. I was like knocked out over that day, man. So I was falling asleep, and then Bryan actually looked out for me a little bit, a lot of it. Actually, he took the test and slid it over and kind of helped me out, So I'm not all good. I'm not the greatest guy ever, as far as when it comes down to all that stuff. But that's a story, man, for y'all and stuff, man. Just because I'm in data science and I talk about all this stuff that I know, I did have some help along the way, just let y'all know, and so I actually think he encouraged me to continue with computer science because I wasn't about to continue with computer science. So, but yeah, so I bring Bryan on here right now, and then Tyrell, man. Tyrell, raise your hand, man. Raise your hand, wave your hand. Yeah, Tyrell, man, it's my other boy, man. We went to Bowie State University as well, and I actually didn't know him. I didn't get to know him until probably senior year of college, or like after that, then we became closer amongst like about 8 or 9 of us. But before that, I've known him probably about a year or two just knew of him. He was closer to one of our other buddies for about a year or two after I met Bryan. So probably about maybe sophomore, junior year time frame. I got a chance to meet him and stuff. And again, we got closer around the senior year and then afterwards and stuff, you know. But I definitely ping him a lot from a programming standpoint as well. And a funny story with this guy, man. Like this might be even I don't know funnier than the other one. This one, you know, I don't hate you, Tyrell, for this. Just letting you know, man. I don't hate you for this at all, man. But just letting you know, I still love you and everything, you know. But I remember this to this day. You know, when I was during my lazy times, I was at Bowie State. I was a programmer. Well, I was a computer science major. I wasn't a programmer. I'm still not a programmer. But during that time, we had an exam, and Tyrell, it might have been a take home or something like that. And was it a take home, Tyrell? You think?
I think so.
Okay. So during that time. Tyrell was actually he was one of the probably best in that class. And Bryan wasn't in the class, but you know he let them compete. You know, you think one of them might be better than the other. They always talk about it, but Tyrell was like, you know, he was sitting there studying and everything for the exam or trying to take the test. And I was trying to squeeze some like information out of this guy, man. I was trying to like get some help on the exam. I actually was trying to just get the answers for real. I was like, look, man, you know, I was like, yeah, so you know, what you think about this? What you think about that? And he was like, yeah. So he just kept everything short. You know, the dude wasn't trying to give us any information. And we was just talking about this earlier. I went to Bryan, and Bryan was like, I had to tell him the whole story. I was like, man, this dude ain't trying to give me nothing. You know what I'm saying? He ain't trying to give me no information and stuff. But you know, those things, man, I learned from both of them, being able to kind of do your own stuff. You know, you learn better from your own work and everything. And so it taught me some valuable lessons. But you know, I'll get off, you know, my whole story mode and everything. But Bryan, man, you know, tell them a little bit about yourself, man. You know.
Sure. Hey, hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm Bryan Lofton, software engineer. Been doing this for basically all my life, since like elementary school, to be honest. It was just something I was destined to do, I guess. Right now, I work as a federal contractor. I'm what you consider a full stack developer. I do UI, backend, pretty much anything. Just put a language or some code or anything in front of me and I'll understand it and figure it out. That's pretty much it. I bachelor's degree from Bowie State, master's from Johns Hopkins, both in computer science. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and that's dope though, because you kind of stuck with it your whole life.
Yep.
And did you had an internship too when you was dealing with some stoplights or something like that?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that was
doing internship for that.
that was with the city of Bowie. It was some geographical software they had where they were trying to map out all the street lights, the fire hydrants, all these different markers and things, and some of the property lines for the city, I guess. So yeah, that was an interesting time.
Yeah. So Tyrell, man, you know, like you kind of been doing the same thing, man. Tell them a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. So my name is Tyrell Flurry. My first experience with developing was, I think, my junior year of high school. Had this teacher. She was terrible. She literally just photocopied pages of the book as a C++ class.
Wait. You had programming. My bad. You had programming in high school, like they were teaching y'all a course or something?
Yeah, we had a computer science or programming course. I think we only had one or two of them, but we had it.
Okay.
But yeah, she would just hand out copies of the book or copies of pages from the book, and then we were supposed to just go through these pages and I guess figure everything out ourselves. And the whole time she was just sitting at her desk just writing. I don't know what she was writing, but it always looked like she was writing a book or something. But got to see in that class, barely made it out.
Hey.
But yeah, and then I went to Bowie State, got my degree in computer science, did a lot better there when, you know, the professors actually cared about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And Also went to Johns Hopkins for my master's in computer science. Graduated in 2009 and been a software engineer ever since. Right now, I'm currently doing full stack development as well, working with a little bit of Angular and Java on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what made you, Tyrell, go to, I mean, that was a bad experience, like in high school, bro. So I'm like, you know, if I went through something like that, I don't know if that's gonna make me continue and stuff. Did that give you more? Did you say, all right, well, it got to be better than what she giving me over here?
I mean, honestly, so in high school, I think it was called like computer programming or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to Bowie State, I guess it's sort of like twofold. So thankfully there weren't that many majors to choose from at Bowie State. I would have went to University of Maryland. I would have did something else that sounded interesting. And B's computer science. So I saw computer science and I didn't connect it to until I started really looking at the curriculum, but it was already too late. I had already selected computer science because that was the only thing that sounded interesting. So ended up there.
Yeah. Can we all agree that money played some slight factor in this? Did it play a factor in y'all at all?
You know what? I think it did from a very young age, only because I knew from the early on that Bill Gates was super rich. You know? I just knew he was super rich. But I also, I mean, it was definitely that, but it was also just the interest in it. Like I actually genuinely enjoy writing code. So it was a win-win situation. You know what I mean?
Right. What about you? Was money a factor at all, Tyrell?
I would say it wasn't because, like I said, I didn't really know what it was when I was selecting it as my major, computer science, and I didn't really find out probably until my junior or senior year. Well, I guess my first internship was my junior year, so that's when I started finding out how much money was in it.
So I would say that's probably like a nugget right there, or a gem right there. Like when you go to college, if you're interested in computer science, without the money being an issue and stuff like that, then I think that's definitely a good thing to go into because you got passion involved, you know, and you're interested in. But for me, I know that money played a factor, and so that's why I was terrible from the beginning and stuff, you know, because a lot of times, you know, I had a mentor that actually told me, you know, if you want to do computer science, don't do it for the money, you know, do it because you're passionate about it. And so I actually had to actually go back and realize that, all right, this is something I want to do, you know, because if I didn't want to do it with my career, if it wasn't something, I mean, that's something you really got to be passionate about. You can't just wing it throughout the whole time. It don't matter what school you go to, I don't think. I think you just, you know, you got to really love it enough to make it through, you know, college at least, you know, for computer science and stuff, you know. So I think that's something that's important to understand. But you know, as y'all know, like as everybody knows, the audience and stuff they know that I'm into data science pretty heavy. And I always talk about there's different like areas of data science. So you talk about like, you got mathematics, you got statistics, you got data visualization. So you got Tableau and all that good stuff or whatever. But you also got programming, you know, and programming is huge in that area with big data. It's huge with data science and things like that. And so, you know, I definitely want you all to provide some insight into this along the way while we're going through this process, while we're going through this interview. And so big data, you know, how do you see big data impacting the programming industry? You know, because you have data warehousing in there that ties in with like big data analytics, you know, and they always talk about big data, you know, and they use that buzzword all the time. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, who goes first, but what's your thoughts on, you know, big data and how it impacts the programming industry?
Well, I think it has a big impact on the software development and programming industry. I mean, if you look at most of the tools, a lot of these tools, let's say, you know, you have Hadoop, Spark, and you name them, they're all backed by a lot of times by some type of programming language, whether if you take Spark, for example, Scala, Java, There's probably other language you can use for it, but essentially, a lot of times you'll need developers to create these maybe these special queries or anything that you want to aggregate, something you may want to aggregate data, anything that you could possibly think of. A lot of times it takes some type of programming to actually get the full capability out of a lot of these tools. So I think it has a major impact. I mean, a lot of jobs specifically want, big data developers or developers that are familiar with a lot of these tools so that they can utilize them appropriately.
Right. Now that's a great point, man, because like big data has evolved because you think about like those traditional databases, they couldn't really hang with the data that was there. And so like now you're bringing in developers who understand databases, you bring in developers who just understand multiple languages, and you're asking them to now have a play in this big data. And I mean, we all know, I mean, all you hear is data, data, data everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what you went into a job for, you hear it, and so it's really making a big impact and stuff to the industry. And so what's your thoughts, Tyrell? What do you think about as far as how it's impacting the programming industry?
It's definitely a huge impact on the programming industry. Like Bryan said, there's a lot of jobs out there that want people who are familiar with big data, familiar with tools like Hadoop. In my last job, I was actually writing analytics against big data, which I can go into detail, but
yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I wish I could.
Oh, you wish you could. Oh, yeah, don't do it.
But I mean, with big data, the data basically, it provides valuable insights into, I guess, whatever your domain is that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. I mean, if you look at the data, piece by piece, you might not be able to connect these pieces, but using big data and write analytics on top of the big data, you're able to, process this data and, like Bryan said, aggregate the data to provide you an answer to whatever questions you have.
Right. No, that's a great point, man. And when I look at data, big data is just data, but it's a lot of it, right? And so as it begins to grow and continue to grow, because we're talking about, exabytes, we're talking about what's the next level? Zettabytes or something? What is
exabyte is pretty big.
That's a lot. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot.
Yottabytes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's a ridiculous amount of data, and it's only going to continue to grow. And so being able to do it, now you got data that you got to figure out, some data that's important to you, some data that's not important. Yeah, you got to kind of do the mining between, find some of those unique cases and stuff in there. And that's what they're using a lot of programmers to do, right? Because once y'all can probably state, y'all. I don't know if y'all think this way too, but I think, and y'all can shed some light on this. Like once you learn one language, you learn the foundation. Do you think that you can probably learn multiple languages easier?
Yeah, I think, personally for me, that's been the case. I want to tread lightly when I say that, but I think I've been able to, and again, this is just my personal experience, just been able to pick up any language quick or unfamiliar language quick, just based on maybe the foundation that I've learned in programming in general. A lot of times I'll just simply look for patterns or things that are slightly familiar and figure it out from there. But I think you're right. I think that, if you learn one language, it can be a segue, or it can make it easy. It'll definitely make it easier for you to, pick up other languages.
Right. What about you, Tyrell? You think the same?
Yep, it's definitely. Especially as you get more and more experience, you kind of realize that it's, at the end of the day, you just need to know the logic behind what you're trying to do.
Correct.
And then you can figure out everything else from there. For example, like I've been doing Angular on my current project, and I just learned that, I guess, on this project, Then I started messing with React in my downtime, and it didn't take me much time to pick up React because of my experience with Angular.
Yep.
A lot of the same
Exactly.
concepts. Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Like as long as you had a solid foundation of programming and stuff, then it's easier for you to pick up languages, even if it's a language like y'all talk about front end, back end,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
things like that. It's just a language, right? You know, and so you once you start, you know, and that's what your passion is, you're interested in it, you know. I mean, there are some that's probably easier to pick up initially than others, right? Like we can talk about a little bit later, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Python, you know, they talk about that. That's one that's like easier or something, you know. For me, it was, but then by me, I didn't start off with Python. You know, in school with us, you know, it was like Java was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I can tell you right now, I don't even know where to start with Java for real because I done went off and did some of the easier ones. You know, because I didn't really have to. You know,
Yeah.
but then you had a little bit of C, C++. You know, you had some of those languages that were like foundational languages, right? Like Lisp and like those type of things. You know, those were in there in one class. Yeah, like in one class, I had about 5 or 6 languages, like COBOL and all in one class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even really care about, but those some of the foundational ones that helped me a little bit more in the future and stuff, you know. But I did want to get into this question that everybody wants to know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, people been talking about it because I've talked to a couple of data scientists, and they have their thoughts and stuff, you know. But I want to hear your thoughts as programmers, right? Will programmers be replaced, right, by AI, by machine learning, by data science in general? You know, because um, you have, I mean, me personally, I work for Hitachi Vantara Federal right now, and we have a product called Pentaho. I think we talked about Pentaho, Brian, before or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
We talked about. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
familiar with it. Yep.
So Pentaho is good with like that data visualization piece, like
Yep.
Tableau, but it also does some data mining stuff. You can take data from different sources,
Mm-hmm.
put into say an Excel spreadsheet, and you can do some mining and find unique cases in there, and then you can, you know, and then you can make it visualize that data, you know, from a value standpoint for anybody that wants to just see charts and graphs and all that cool stuff,
Yep.
you know. But they say, well, hey, you don't even need programmers, right? Because of this, right? They're like, you don't need programmers anymore, you know, for
Yeah.
that. So what's your thoughts on that? You
Yeah. I don't know if you want to go first, but you know, it's one of those things that kind of lingers in the back of my head all the time. It's like the big fear. I do think we will. I think we may get to a point where programmers are not needed. I don't I don't I don't know if we will allow it to get to that point though, because that's a
know?
pretty scary thing in
Can y'all
my
stop it though? You saying that y'all can possibly stop it? That's what you telling me? Brian got some secret sauce behind there.
I don't know. I reference this
Planted.
all the time. I mean, don't let Skynet take over, man. Please, don't let Skynet take over, man. Please. But I think you've got a bunch of tools now. They've got like predictive analytics for software testing and stuff to kind of determine or kind of predict where there'll be issues in software. It's a bunch of things now where they'll essentially things are coded for you. You may only have to provide one or two or a couple parameters, and then all of a sudden you've got this whole sheet of code or whatever you want to call it. I mean, a lot of tools now have auto-generated code. I mean, hell, look at like Thrift, Apache Thrift. It can code in Python, Java, C++. I think it's
by itself.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially, it's just a communication tool essentially.
So
But
wait a minute, I can code in one language and it can convert it over to the other. Is that what it usually does? Or?
what it does is it allows any like different services to communicate with each other no matter what language essentially it's in, and it kind of dumbs it down for you. That's the beauty of it. But I mean, it's dangerous, man. I don't know. I'm hoping not, but we may get to a level where, you know, programmers may not be needed. I'm always thinking though that they'll always need somebody to program the automated programmer. But again, if it's AI, then I don't know.
Yeah. Excuse me. And so, you know, and Tyrell, you can go ahead and, you know, respond and stuff, because I personally don't think that AIs will replace the programmers, you know. I mean, of course it will take time before like AI will be able to create like actual, I mean, well, I guess now they're creating actual production worthy code, right? I mean, is that what's going, do y'all see that? Or do y'all see that at all?
I mean, so I was actually tuning into the Microsoft Build conference a couple weeks ago. It might have been last week. And one of the presentations they had was with one of the developers at OpenAI. And they were able to use, like, I think it was natural language processing. So they had like a language model that was trained on like thousands of open source projects in GitHub. And then they were able to use that model to generate Python code. So essentially they just had to type the method signature and then type like a comment string saying what they wanted to do. So for example, I think the example they did was determine if the string was a palindrome. And then the AI took over from there and wrote the method itself. So I mean, they gave a couple other examples too that weren't so simple, and showed how it was still flawed, and they had to go back and correct what the AI did. But so yeah, I don't think they're doing anything production ready yet, but I do think it's coming, and I don't fear it. I actually want to see it. I want to see everything AI has to offer, even if that means Skynet.
Oh man!
Oh man! Look, that's crazy, man.
But yeah, so I think eventually they will replace programmers in the aspect of I guess the way programmers are thought of today. You know, sitting in front of keyboards writing code. But I think our jobs will eventually shift to what? I don't know. Maybe we'll all become data scientists.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, perhaps you know, maybe jobs will shift to maintaining the AI that develops the programs in the first place. You know, we'll see. But
I think y'all bringing up like crazy good points, you know, and I think I don't think that I think the right words that you used, Tyrell, was that it's going to shift.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, like shifting the job role, right? You know, like because we always talk about how, I mean, people always crying like, oh my gosh, somebody lose my job because of this robot or these artificial. I think the next generation, whether it's programmers, whether it's, you know, working behind McDonald's, I don't care where it is. I mean, working behind a register at McDonald's or something like that. You know, I think you just kind of like we're going to have to teach the new generation. The job market is going to be around how to vet languages that maybe the AI people are the AI and is already producing, right? Like maybe be able to kind of like y'all roles when y'all get old, right? Maybe like I'm looking over the code that this AI already produced just to make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
And to make sure, because you got to have somebody, you cannot let them take over to the point where you ain't got nobody looking at this.
Well, Tyrell said he wanted Skynet, so
let's go.
You got, I mean, when they come over there and just destroy you, you're going to be like, nah, I'm sorry, man.
You got to have a EMP ready.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
What's that? What's the EMP ready?
Electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
it just wipes out any electronic devices essentially within its vicinity.
That's a good point, right? I mean, how can you? I mean, is that something you think that will be able to help out with that, or is that more of just like just thinking not hypothetically, but just thinking fantasy land kind of thing? So that
It's definitely been a fantasy land type of thought.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. With your host, Dapper Data.